لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيبنا وحبيب رب العالمين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. Yesterday we talked about not harboring enmity for the person. Rather, if there's something unbecoming that the person is doing, we can dislike the deed but not the person. Continuing upon this, he teaches us, Imam Sha'arani rahmatullahi alayh, speaks about how to deal, what the proper etiquette is at the time of conflict between brothers and friends. وَمِنْ حَقِّ الْأَخِ عَلَى الْأَخِ إِذَا حَصَلَ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَهُ وَقْفَةٌ. From the rights of brotherhood is that if something comes between, a problem, waqfa is like a pause, meaning that the relationship is strained. أَيْ يَزِيدَ فِي بَثِّ مَحَاسِنِهِ أَكْثَرَ مِمَّا كَانَ قَبْلَ الْوَقْفَةِ. The rights of brotherhood dictate that when one gets into some conflict or some misunderstanding or some tensions arise with their brother, that during this period they praise in front of others their brother's good qualities more than they used to do before. مُرَاعَةً لِلْوُدِّ. This is done to preserve the love and camaraderie that they have between them. وَقَدْ كَانَ السَّلَفُ الصَّالِحُ يَمْدَحُونَ عَدُوَّهُمْ كُلَّمَا ذُكِرَ اسْمُهُ بِحَضْرَتِهِمْ. Our righteous predecessors used to praise their opponents if their names were mentioned, بحيث يظن الظان أنه من أعظم المحبين لهم, such that those who heard would think that these are their best friends. فَاقْتَدِي يَا أَخِي بِهِمْ. So, my brother, take their example. وَلَا تَتَوَقَّفْ فِي ذِكْرِ أَخِيكَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ أَيَّامَ غَيْظِكَ عَلَيْهِ. And do not stop mentioning your brother in a good light during the days that you are upset with him. وَاحْذَرْ مِنَ الْوُقُوعِ فِي عِرْضِهِ. And be very cautious of attacking their honor. فَرُبَّمَا وَقَعَ الصُّلْحُ فَيَصِيرُ ذَلِكَ يُكَدِّرُ صَفَاءَ الْمَوَدَّةِ. Because sometimes you make up, but what was said in this period of conflict causes the relationship to never really go back to the same. So you say that everything is done and forgiven, but there's always this shadow that will hang, or this cloud that will hang over the relationship again. وَتَذَكَّرْ مَا أَكَلْتَ عِنْدَهُ مِنَ الْخُبْزِ وَمَا سَبَقَ مِنَ الْمَعْرُوفِ. Remember the bread that you broke with him. Remember the good times that you had, the meals that you went out to. وَمَا سَبَقَ مِنَ الْمَعْرُوفِ. And the kindness that was extended to you in the past. وَقَلَّ مَن يَفْعَلُ ذَلِكَ. But very few adhere to this. The primary example of this, we could say, was modeled for us by the Sahaba radiyallahu ta'ala an. Without going into the history of what happened, because when a person goes, into the history of what happened between the Sahaba radiyallahu an, you're bound to get lost. Like, I'm just giving an example. We all believe that Hazrat Ali radiyallahu ta'ala an, he was in the right, given what happened, that everybody acted with sincerity, but Hazrat Ali radiyallahu an, he was in the right. That's what we believe. But I was just looking in Tafsir ibn Kathir the other day. In Tafsir ibn Kathir the other day, there's a quotation of Hazrat Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma, who was very close with Hazrat Ali radiyallahu, from the family of Hazrat Ali radiyallahu an, and he was speaking with some of his students kind of off the record, and he said on the basis of this ayah, and he pointed to one ayah, it's in 12th para, 11th para, the ayah is slipping my mind. Is it 11th or 12th para? Right? On the basis of that ayah, he said, I told Hazrat Ali, leave Muawiyah radiyallahu anh. He's going to win. He's going to be victorious. He's like, I told him, but he didn't listen to me. Right? This is what Hazrat Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anh is saying. And again, the ayah is slipping my mind, but it's in Tafsir ibn Kathir. It's in the 11th or the 12th para. Right? So subhanAllah, like, we don't like to get into that because it's just everywhere you go, what do you end up doing? You end up criticizing a Sahabi. And whatever happened, historically, it was post-Wahi. Wahi, revelation, always takes precedent over history. What does Wahi say? Wahi says, radiyallahu anhum wa radu an. Allah is perpetually pleased with all of the Sahaba radiyallahu ta'ala an. And after Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam left this worldly life, there's no possibility of the wahi being abrogated or lifted up. Therefore, that is an overriding principle that's going to govern anything historical that happened with the Sahaba radiallahu an. So a person can't say, well, they did this or this, because we say, but Allah says radiallahu anhum wa radu an. But khair, anyway, the Sahaba, they had different things amongst them. But during this conflict between Hazrat Ali and Muawiyah radiallahu an, during this time, sometimes people would come and ask Muawiyah radiallahu an questions. He would say, I don't know, and he would send somebody to ask Hazrat Ali radiallahu an the answer. Right? There was a time when one of the governors of the Byzantine Empire sent a letter to Muawiyah radiallahu anh saying that we heard about what happened between you and Ali. Let us come and help you. We'll fight Ali. Muawiyah radiallahu anh responded back to him saying, "Oh, you dog, this is a family matter. If you get involved in what we're doing, I will go and I will join Hazrat Ali radiallahu anh's army. We will wipe you off the face of the earth and then we'll resume our fight." Right? Aisha radiallahu anha, in Bukhari Sharif, there's this hadith that towards the end of Hassan bin Sabit radiallahu anhu's life, he had gone blind. And he was one of the people who unfortunately got mixed up in the rumors that were being spread about about Aisha radiallahu anha. So one of her family members just said, it serves him right. This is what he gets for attacking you. She said, don't say anything bad about him, because I saw him praising Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in poetry and defending him against the attacks of the Quraysh, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was making dua for him, Allahumma ayyidhu bi ruhil qudus. Don't say anything bad about him. One time somebody asked Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu a question. He said, there's nobody more knowledgeable about this subject. This hadith is in Muslim Sharif than Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha. But due to something, I can't speak to her right now. But go and ask her to answer the question and let me know. What does this show? That the Sahaba radiallahu an, some of them at times they had conflicts with one another. They're human beings. It's bound to happen. And especially when you have so many people who are strong-willed, people who have sacrificed so much for a cause, everybody is going to have, or many people are going to have very strong views. And when these views come into conflict with one another, it can lead to some bad feelings. Yet you see that they maintained praise for one another. They maintained their decorum with one another, and they would encourage others to go and benefit from those who they were conflicting with. So this is what we need to do as well. Problems happen between people, but that doesn't take away the good qualities that they have. If somebody is good at what they're good at, then you should mention that. It shouldn't be that, okay, you don't like this person and now all of the sudden this person went from being the greatest scholar to being not knowing anything and being ignorant and this and that. They still maintain all of their good qualities. There's a problem here between you and them. So we have to maintain, praising them even more than we would before in a conflict. Thinking back to the past, all of the good times, that we had. And he said very, very few people, they do this. Another thing, وَمِنْ حَقِّ الْأَخِي عَلَى الْأَخِي أَن يُقَدِّمَ حَوَائِجَهُ الضَّرُورِيَّةِ عَلَى عِبَادَتِهِ الْمَسْنُونَةِ. It is from the rights of brotherhood that one puts the necessary needs, they prioritize the necessary needs of their brother over their own nawafil, over their own optional worship. وَمَعْلُومٌ أَنَّ الْخَيْرَ الَّذِي يَتَعَدَّى نَفْعُهُ أَفْضَلُ مِنَ الْقَاصِرِ عَلَى فَاعِلِهِ. Because it's well known that the good that transfers, that emanates from one and goes to another, is better than the good that is restricted to oneself. So he says that this is from the rights of brotherhood as well. Let's say, for example, a person is very, very paband about praying Salatul Awwabin. Do you guys know what Salatul Awwabin is? Who knows this? Raise your hand if you know Salatul Awwabin. Okay, so good. But we'll mention it for everyone's benefit. In Tirmidhi Sharif, there's a hadith. And I will say right now, this hadith is weak. The hadith is weak. But in the hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says, Man salla sita raka'atin ba'da salatil maghrib, or kama qala alayhi salatu wa salam. Whoever prays 6 rakats after salatul maghrib, not bringing any bad speech in the middle. Lam yafsil baynahunna bisu. Similar words are used by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. 12 rakats of nafil ibadah will be recorded for them. I'm telling you right now, the hadith is da'if. However, sometimes some things that strengthen a hadith is looking at the scholars of the early generations and scholars of later generations. If they've all accepted a hadith and acted upon it, then that gives the hadith some more strength. Meaning, from the time of the Sahaba and Tabi'un, people were practicing on this hadith, doing amal on this hadith. Now, Muslims all across the world, Yemeni scholars, they do amal on this. Shami scholars from Syria, they do amal on this. Ulama from India, Pakistan, they do amal on this. So it gives a lot of strength to this hadith. Again, it's still weak, but it gives some strength to the practice. But let's say there's a person, and like all of our teachers, very, very strict on doing this amal, right? 6 rakats of nawafil after Maghrib. But let's say somebody is very strict about it, and then you have one of your friends, their car breaks down outside, and you know that they need to go somewhere, and they're parishan, and you need to go and jumpstart their car. Now, what are you going to do? Are you going to pray your nawafil? Or are you going to go and jumpstart the car? Jumpstart the car. You have to let the nawafil go in this case. You'll get more reward in jumpstarting his car, inshallah, than praying your nawafil that day, right? Another example, yeah, so she won't listen to this, so I'll just mention this. Because this is all about brotherhood, that families are, even more. So I was mentioning this to the students the other day, when Ramadan comes, the last 10 days, any imam's family will just be like, oh, you're so busy, you don't have any time for us, and this and that. That's natural, right? So I dealt with it just like everybody else dealt with it. So I said the other day, though it was in the, last, few days of Ramadan, like I said, okay, after Taraweeh, Imam Ihsan did the talk, I just went straight home. I told my wife, okay, look, I won't go anywhere, I'm not doing anything, I'm not going to do no nawafil, nothing, whatever you want me to do, I'm here. That I just was there, sat, whatever. And usually what I do, I wait till they go to sleep, then I go and I do my own thing, right? I sleep late, that's just how I am. But that day I said, no, I'll stay. I even went to sleep at that time. I just woke up before Sehri, did whatever little things you could do before Sehri. Why? All these things are nawafil, right? But if you're hurting your family, right? If you're hurting brothers and sisters in Islam, and those are families muqaddam over everyone, then what are you accomplishing, right? Sometimes a person in leaving things, nafil things, never fard, never wajib, but in leaving nafil things, a person gains more reward in doing that because they've joined the heart of someone. I was reading in the khutbat of Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanvi rahmatullahi alayh. People, when we talk about zakat, people think that zakat needs to be done in Ramadan. This is incorrect, right? A lot of people think, number one, your zakat is not due in Ramadan. Zakat is due when your year comes around. And the year is based on when you gain the nisab. However, wanting to give your zakat in Ramadan because the reward is multiplied, that's fine and good, mashallah. But sometimes there's a need for somebody, for you to give your zakat money outside of Ramadan. So he said sometimes it affects and it hurts people. And they say, no, I can't give my zakat right now, I have to give it in Ramadan. He said, though, if you were to look at the pure numbers, and you say, okay, 70 times the reward of a fard act in Ramadan, he said, if you look just at numbers, you'll get more reward for giving it in Ramadan. But if you look at the need at this time, that your Muslim brother or sister is in need, and you give your zakat here, he said that, kayfiyatan, this will be better. He said, kamiyatan, it'll be better in Ramadan. But kayfiyatan, wa halan, wa ma'alan, in terms of the effect it will have on you and what it will lead you to, it's far better to give it outside of Ramadan. Why? The need is needed there. And if you deal with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the basis of numbers, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will deal with you on the basis of numbers. And if you deal with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the basis of love, and the basis of I will do whatever is needed at whatever time, regardless of how much is going to benefit me, Allah will deal with us like this as well. Wallahu yarzuqu may yasha'u bighayri hisab. Without any counting. May Allah subhanahu